more important than her daughter was. When mothers are competitive with their daughters, it's absolutely devastating for the daughter. Of course, the mother does that because that may have happened to her. But it's a devastating experience, and you just need your mother to support you as a girl, as a woman. It's a real gender link that when that's broken, it's a pretty intense thing to come back from. And so, of course, when the anima shows up, she can't face it, except to go into her deepest wound, where she at one point knew she wanted her mother, and then lost her, and that's why she's so scared. Because when you lose your mother, you're alone in the world, or something like that.
There was another question.
So in a sense, for her to have, this is the hard thing, because if you look to get something good from the dream, when you go to receive it, everything that you felt that separated you from that has to be felt. So that's why the dreams will work both ends, that sometimes you'll get these dreams that are really juicy and good, but you won't want to grab it because you know that something terrible happened, and you don't want to remember it. So sometimes when love comes for you, it only brings up all your pain and fear. So it's better not to have the love and cope.
I just have a really on-the-ground specific question from the very beginning of the first dream. She saw the little boy on the back of the motorbike without the helmet, and what I thought I heard you saying was that's her being judgmental and practical and not having any fun. And I was thinking that was her being loving and concerned, you know, that because I think we're all so ingrained that you see a little kid with no helmet going fast, you know, that you, and I just wondered what the differentiation was there in your mind.
I would have to say that it's all in the eye of the beholder, in a sense that that could be an act of love, but supposing that her mother performed those duties and made sure she was dressed well and went to school and was clean and all these perfunctory jobs that parents do, but there was still this underlying rejection. So in that scenario, you would, and then she becomes like her mother in that way, where she doesn't have the experience of love because there she is scared. So she acts out the best that she can do, like her mother acted out the best that she could do, which was to be concerned, but she's not, in the situation able to feel the love, which you saw she ran away later. The other thing is, every child in the dream is really you. So the ultimate goal in the dream is to be that child. So the fact that her relationship with the child is only to say, I am the parent, and that's the act of love, is a far cry from being that child who is being supported by the father in this case. So a lot of dream mistakes come from being loving in a dream with the child, and the therapist thinks that's a good thing. But then I would ask, why aren't you the child? Since that's the primary reason for the child being in the dream, to be reunited with that part of yourself. See what I'm saying? So there are a lot of clues here as to why that's a problem.
And we have another question on the steps. Did you want to tell?
Yeah, because when I am looking at Sarah's dream, where I get confused is, to me, she was the child on the motorbike, and she was the child with the staple gun, and as you said, she's all the children.
Right, but in the dream, right, yeah, go ahead.
She's all the children.
Right.
But
potentially.
Because as I think the main role she was playing, you were explaining the main role in the dream was she was the person judging, you don't have a helmet on, why is his father taking care of this child? I didn't understand why you're giving that role more importance, where she is the child on the motorbike, she is the kid with the staple gun, she is the child that's holding the fear. In the true root, she very fiercely was holding on to that other side.
That trauma was her experiencing that reality. but she was never the child of the motorcycle. Like we're talking about it in the sense of saying, ultimately, that, like, if she was really that in the reality of it, not in the potential of it, she would have a dream where she is actually on the motorcycle and flying along.
Okay.
See?
Yep.
It's true, she potentially was that, but it's not that.
That's where you're losing me. I mean, I hear what you're in this dream, but to me, all those parts are equal.
If you don't play the part, then it's not immediate to your experience for one reason or another. But the dream gave her one thing that was real, and that was the fear. So you have this juxtaposition between fear, twice, one with the roots and one when she's running away from the mom. And then the other time, the authentic feeling was, what was it, Sarah? Second one?
Oh, with the boy in the staple?
Right.
Yeah, the
But
pain.
you weren't that either. So that's not the one.
Well,
So
I think this is what these dreams are showing is my separation.
from those other parts.
Right. They're not showing my connection, they're showing my separation.
Right. But they're also showing those parts are growing in you. Aren't they?
They're showing that the potential is that she used to be the child that could do that. And the other one is that she also, when she got hurt, she used to be the other child who's doing this and doesn't remember that either. And so, but what she does, what they can get her to is to her fear. That's the one where she's actually living out her trauma. So that's why it's important that the role the dreamer plays in their own dream determines a lot about what the dream is saying in terms of a three-dimensional sense.
The role the dreamer plays
Right.
is what determines the main feeling of the dream.
That's right.
Okay.
Amy?
You know, I also just want to add that, like, this is related to your first question about sort of like how do you know this from the dream, because it has a lot to do with the dreamer's experience. So it's like we can kind of look at these in different ways, and I'm a client also along with the therapist, and you know, it's like you get to a point where you know whether that's really real, whether like my place of being on the motorcycle and being the child. So I can see a dream like that and say I want to be on the motorcycle, but like after a certain number of years of work, you start to recognize the place where I'm not really in that. And you get to a point where you really want to look at what it is that's keeping me from living that way in my life. So I see the potential of that, and the dreams also show me what's keeping me from that. And that becomes more and more important in your work. You don't just want to sort of like go over it all and be there, because you try that, and then you kind of fall on your face and the pathology gets you. And so I've learned to kind of look at those places where I'm separate. And that's a lot of times we focus a lot on what keeps us apart so that we can become that thing. We kind of trust the place of being the child.
That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing you're focusing on the pathology.
That's right. We do that a lot because we trust that place of the child. So then the question